wherever you are, in your house or in your car, or even if on your lap you find a toad. I hope you're enjoying this very last episode. I'm not sure if there will be a season 3, but maybe there will be. It depends if I'm free. Hope At Your Level's been a nice place to hang. Let's end the season with a big bang. I never planned it, but the last season ended with time, and this one with space. And also some rhyme. Speaking of space, this episode is not exactly about space. It's more about poems to space. Am I going at your pace? What inspired this episode was a book called Black Hole Stars, Earth, and Mars. The team creating the book was a father-son team, similar to ours. The dad, John Raymond, is an astrophysicist, and I don't even know if a rhyme exists. And his son, Owen, illustrated the book, so I hope you all take a good look. If you want to learn about space and the stars, that book spits out some mad bars. And why am I speaking in verse? Well, I was inspired. Rhyme here with universe. So without further ado, I'm your host, Ari Kelly. Thanks for your patience, and man, was this overdue.
Beauty lies within the things we see, like flowers, butterflies, and bumblebees. But there's a place so wondrous and yet to see, a place so mysterious as any place can be. As we look upon the sky, so blue and dashing, but as soon as night falls, it feels so mesmerizing, with twinkling stars filled in the night sky, shimmering and shining like diamonds up high. The moon so bright like a sparkly gem, giving us light in the dark within, as shooting stars pass by like rockets, making a wish upon more than a dozen, exploring new planets, galaxies, and more, making new discoveries in our spaceships we soar. Through space and time with no worries at all, we'll fly through the sky like we're kings of it all.
Wasn't that an amazing poem? It's called Space in the Sky, and it was written and recorded by 12-year-old Desuli. So yeah, this episode will be filled with space poetry. Are you ready to meet the inspiration? Our guest, Sean Raymond, is an astrophysicist who wrote the book Black Hole Stars, Earth, and Mars. The entire book is a poem. You get to learn about the solar system, galaxies, and telescopes through rhyme, and most importantly, fun. Also, Sean's son Owen illustrated the book, and I'll tell you, his illustrations help me understand these big ideas so much better. So yeah, here they are, the author, Sean Raymond, and his 15-year-old son, Owen. Let's dive right in. Owen, how long did it take you to illustrate the book?
I do not remember. I think it was several months.
Okay. And then, Sean, how long did it take you to write the book?
The book was in the works for a few years.
Wow.
So I had started writing this blog for many years ago. And at some point I started writing poems, like some new things, like announcements, like we discovered this new thing that's kind of cool. And I would write a poem about it just to kind of try to keep it fun while people learned about science stuff. And then at one point, Marissa, so Owen's mom, said, "Hey, why don't you write a book of astronomy poems?" And I said, "Nah, why would I do that?" And she's like, "Well, you should totally do that." I was like, "Nah." And she said, "Yeah." And finally I was like, "That is actually a good idea." And so I started working on that and just kind of working on it just like an hour a day or half hour a day for a long time. And then I asked a bunch of people's opinions and it took a few years to really get it all together.
Yeah. So in the chapter, The Big Bang and Dark Energy of your book, you talk about the balance between dark energy and gravity. But in your life, I see that you're both into science and fiction. So how do you find the balance between those?
Oh, good question. Do you want to say anything about it?
Not really.
So I find that it's a very fun thing. So it's often perceived that scientists are very serious people, whereas in fiction, it's the opposite. You're allowed to be playful and kind of imagine stuff. And I think that's the general view. Science is on one side, fiction's on the other, where it's, serious versus playful. And the truth is, most of the people I know who are in astronomy were inspired by things that came out of fiction, like space-based books or movies.
Mm-hmm.
And so in daily life, fiction and science actually go together pretty well. So the fiction part helps you kind of imagine new things. Could this possibly be a thing? And then the science part is like, oh, well, let's go test it and find out whether that really makes sense or not. And so in the end, they play really well together. And I find that most of the really good scientists that I know use both of these things. They use the fiction for ideas and the science for testing those ideas.
So this is kind of a weird question, but what do you think it's like in a black hole?
Ooh, this is a tough one. So I've thought a bit about this and I've read a bit about it. I've never studied it in great detail and done tons of math like I know some people have done. And so my understanding is that if you were in a small black hole, things would be super weird and very distorted. But if you were in a really big black hole, you could be inside one and not even know it. And so there's been some vague suggestions that we live inside a gigantic black hole that's the size of the universe right now. So put that together and it could be super weird or it could be kind of normal or something in between. It's hard to tell.
All right. So let's move on. So how can kids tell the difference between science and fiction? Because a little specification on that. You probably don't have the app, but TikTok, there's a lot of very weird things that seem like they could be real, but they're really not. And so, yeah.
That's a really important question these days because it's really easy to hear, there can be an article you click on and it says, oh, this thing is true. And so you say, okay, that must be true. And we just learned it. And then it can be refuted in another article where they say, no, that's not true. And so it's really hard to get at the truth. And science advances kind of one step at a time. And so there are intervals where we're not sure if something is true or not. And there can be a window where it's unclear whether this is true or not. And then at some point, it's kind of figured out that what the answer is, and we move on from there. And so at any given point, if you find something out, you read something, you say, oh, they're saying that, Pluto is a planet or not, right? This is one it's kind of a tricky one. Then you can go and do more research on it. And so by that, I mean, Google it, look at articles on Wikipedia, for example, or other places. Because there's some cases like Pluto being a planet that is debated. And still, there's some people who argue that Pluto should be a planet and some that it shouldn't. And there are other cases where it's very clear that there is a final answer. And you can still find articles that are giving you the wrong answer, actually. And doing a little extra research is pretty important in those cases.
Yeah, I agree. Did that trombone bit sound familiar? You know it. The Big Bang episode needs to have some Big Ben brassy sounds. Do you want to guess along? Every trombone transition in this episode will be a song that has something to do with space. If you send us your guesses, we will be over the moon. Would you like to hear some of the book? It's pretty awesome. Here's Sean with my favorite chapter.
Chapter 4, The Big Bang and Dark Energy. The Big Bang is when time began. It's the start, the very first beat of our cosmos' heart. But why do we think that, and what can we prove? To start off, consider how galaxies move. We've measured how galaxies out there are cruising. The data we got was, pretty confusing. The farther away, then the faster they're going. They're zooming away, every one, and not slowing. The real far away ones, so faint in the night, are speeding away near the speed of, light. This means that the universe right now today is growing. It's bigger than just yesterday.
Some days at night, I look up at the night sky, and a blanket of glitter captures my sight. I feel so small in this vast ocean of darkness and silence, realizing that this is where we began and where we will fall. Every second, every minute, I grow more and more insignificant. I feel like a speck of dust in this body of infinite. There's so much more to this night sky we see. The universe is stretching, expanding, growing evermore. Planets, stars, and our very own sun, all in what scientists call space. Creating and destroying, leaving nothing undone. We too are made of stardust. And what brings us together is trust. Are you made of stardust too?
And that was The Universe I See in the Night Sky, written and read by Sonali, who is 12. A couple days ago, I called up Queenie from the Kids Poetry Club, a podcast about, you guessed it, poetry. I told Queenie a dad joke and about our guest, Sean Raymond. Now I'm selecting a winner for the Space in the Sky category, and so are Sean and Owen. Speaking of the Space in the Sky category, the whole reason that the competition is about space in the sky is because of this episode. So, thanks, Dazzy. It was really nice of you to put me in your episode and make this entire competition about space in the sky. I really enjoyed listening to your episode, and Queenie's reaction was great. And just for you, I have a very special dad joke. And of course, I will do my best British accent. How does a moon cut its hair? Why, eclipse it. My, what a funny joke. Jolly me. Ha ha ha. Did you like it? Well, I very much appreciate this, Darren. Genuinely, thank you.
That's no problem, Ari, and that dad joke was a bit much, even for me.
So, Darren, how did you get so many kids to write such awesome poems?
Well, Ari, I just love reading and listening to poems written by kids, and that's why I started Kids Poetry Club. We've released over 130 episodes now and have featured hundreds of kids from around the world.
What do you think your next category will be?
Every 3 months we start a new competition on a different topic. Over the last 2 years we've covered topics like friends and family, home, hopes and dreams, and spring. And so I wake up each morning to read poems sent in from kids, which is just wonderful.
I definitely recommend the people listening right now enter a poem.
Well, our Space in the Sky competition runs through to October the 29th, and then starting in November, our competition topic will be food and meals, which seems perfect timing given that we're heading into the holiday season.
But how would one enter the competition, Darren?
Well, you'll find everything you need at our website, so just go to kidspoetryclub.com and click on Competitions. You can enter your own poems and also read hundreds of poems for kids and written by kids. Oh, and before I go, Ari, Queenie handed me a piece of paper. Let's see what it says. Oh, it's a space joke. Here goes. How do you organize a space party?
A space party? I don't know, Darren. Do any of you kids listening have any ideas?
You plan it.
That deserved that, I'll be honest.
Okay, with that groaner, I'm heading off now. Bye, Ari.
So, you want to hear some more dad jokes? Take it away, Sean and Owen.
Why couldn't the astronaut book a room on the moon?
I don't know. Why not?
Because it was full. Have you heard about the new restaurant on the moon?
No.
The food is good, but there's just no atmosphere.
Okay.
I stayed up all night wondering where the sun went, and then it dawned on me. You like that one?
Yeah.
How do all the objects in the solar system have a party?
I don't know how.
They plan it. Why do rocks from space taste better than Earth rocks?
I don't know. Why do they?
They're a little meatier. All right, last one. When do astronauts eat?
Probably noon like the rest of us.
At lunchtime.
That was close.
Did you notice that Darren and Sean had the same joke there? I swear, didn't plan it. Okay, so you ready for another amazing Space in the Sky poem? You know how I told you we got to be the judges? Owen's pick was Space in the Sky by Dasuli, age 12, from Sri Lanka. Sean's number 1 pick was The Universe I See in the Night Sky by Sonali, age 12, also from Sri Lanka. And here's my pick. It's called In My Holidays, written and read by Aditya, aged 14, from India. Thank you for your beautiful poem, Aditya.
In my holidays, I'll go to space, which is a wonderful place. There, I'll play with the stars, explore Moon and Mars. We'll step on the moon and feel like a balloon. Check out all the planets there and wonder, Pluto has gone where? Unfold all the mysteries and we'll learn all about their history. I'll definitely chase the sun. Oh, it'll be a lot of fun.
Did you recognize that trombone bit there? Listen, these are more for the adults, especially if you know any musicians, or any adults that say they're musicians. Go grab them and challenge them. I dare them to guess all these. I mean it. If you can guess all 9 trombone bits in this episode, we want to know about it. If you send us your guesses, we will be over the moon. Want another peek at Sean's book? Remember his answer to my question about things we hear or learn that could be true but maybe aren't? Well, here's Owen reading a little bit about Pluto.
Chapter 8, The Solar System. Is Pluto a planet? Now that is a question. Some people get worked up at just a suggestion. Despite having learned it when they were in school, the planets kicked Pluto right out of their pool. The thing to remember before you're appalled, Pluto does not care at all what it's called. It turns out that Pluto is just part of a group. A pretty big shot in the Kuiper Belt troop. The problem, to me, is quite easy to see. If Pluto's a planet, then what else should be? There's probably dozens of Plutos. Do you want to have to remember them all?
And for the season finale, Bizarre ASMR, we've changed things up a little bit. These are fun, so I'll give you a couple. Here's the first one. Listen closely. Ready? Can you guess what that is? So in this special Bizarre ASMR segment, I'm going to give you 3 big hints. Since this is the Poems to Space episode, these hints are going to be poems. And like always, the main hint is in the episode title. So since this is the Poems to Space episode, the main hint is space. Okay, ready for the first poem? It was for my arm, to keep it from harm. 'Cause once I fell. It's a bit like a shell, and it rhymes with space. This ASMR is a... And here's the next one. Just so you know, it just was my birthday. Blowing this up made my dog scared and run away. But since this episode is Poems to Space, the hint for the sound's at the tip of my face. Okay, it's the tip of my tongue, I know. I'm a loon. I'll make this ASMR poem rhyme with the moon. last one. This ASMR, I went downtown. There's so many of these, I'll have to cut down. I'm on Newbury Street, away from the stars. They beep at pedestrians and rhyme with Mars. As always, I would love to hear your guesses. So, you know how I told you that Owen, Sean, and I all selected our favorite poems to space? Well, first of all, those winners are all getting their very own copy of Black Hole Stars, Earth, and Mars. I mean, I think that's incredibly nice of Sean to have done that. And these kids are literally from all around the world. Sean and Owen live in France, by the way. And second of all, these poems were so good. We were really blown away. So we have one more winner. His name is Amog. He is 11 years old, and here he is reading his poem, The Light in the Darkness.
I want to be like the sun, who gives light to all the planets and holds all the planets in its gravitational pull. I want to be light and speedy, like Mercury, who can circle the sun in about 88 days. I want to be strong and fierce, but still speedy, like Venus. I want to be like the earth, which gives us humans food and water and life. I want to be like the moon, which gives light in the stronghold of darkness, which is the night. I want to be unpredictable like Mars, as the red planet is colder than the earth. I want to persevere like Jupiter, who can withstand fierce storms that last for centuries each. I want to be like Saturn, who has humongous rings. I want to be like Neptune, who can withstand frigid temperatures. I want to be like Uranus, who is always surviving by itself, no matter what. I want to be like Pluto, who finishes any task he starts, no matter what happens to it.
Thank you, Owen and Sean Raymond, so much. Truly, this is really cool. It's really nice of you. I loved your book a lot. I'm going to order a copy for my cousins and some friends for the holidays. It's on Amazon, by the way, if any of you listeners want to do that. I think it's a really awesome gift. Darren, or Dazzy, you're the best. I am so glad we've met. Thank you for all the collaborations. We love working with you. And listeners, just so you know, every time Darren writes an email, he sends a poem. And also almost always a bad dad joke. Thanks again, Darren. And guys, I put a link to both Darren's Kids Poetry Club and Sean's book in the show notes. Thank you, Diwali, Sonali, Aditya, and Amog. Your poems were fantabulous. Keep writing. You have a talent for sure. And enjoy your copy of Black Hole Stars, Earth, and Mars. I hope it inspires you too. To all of you that participated in any of the episodes, thank you. I can't name all of you right now, but you know who you are. Thank you so much. And all of you who are listening and keep listening again and again, I know you're out there because I see the numbers, and it's crazy. I can't believe so many of you are listening. Thank you so much. You can say hi if you want. I really do read all the emails, and I'd love to say hi back. Thank you, Kids Listen, for so much support and so many awesome collaborations. There are too many of you to list, and you are all so awesome. But there is just one special pod, one man with so many voices that deserves all the thanks in the world. It's Eric O'Keefe, the one who inspired me to start this podcast, the one I still listen and learn from, Mr. Eric. Thank you. Really, thank you so much. Thank you, Ben, as always, for composing and playing your music for this show. Thank you, Dad and Saba and Sapta and Dora Michali and Uncle Michael and Rua, Lizzie and Ross and Errol and Stacia and Kathy and Nicole and every friend and family member that helped us out and supported us. We love you. And last but not least, thank you, Emma, mother, producer. You guys, check out Mashups. My mom will be hosting and producing a podcast where you get to meet some really fun kids listen shows. She's making up games for them to play and mashing them up and stuff. I'll be in episode 7. Okay, I'm off to play my Barry sax. Thanks for listening. You know how it goes. I'm your host, Ari Kelly, and At Your Level is a production of Art and Light Society. Thanks.